25 years. I know he played the game in New York as a New York businessman to keep workers working and buildings going up, which is a great thing. And sometimes you got to play the game. But he kept every promise, and he keeps checking them off. And the only thing I hear is maybe they don't like his style. He tweets, big deal.
I don't think most people care at all about that. They're obsessing on these side issues. Most Americans want safety, security, prosperity. And they want a sense of general fairness in society. I don't think most people are looking for handouts or that's not the way most people. They want a basic sense of fairness. And I think a lot of people are done with kind of the identity politics, political correctness. And Trump saw this a couple of decades ago. He saw it from China to immigration. He saw it all. And so he and Pat Buchanan and a few others along the way, Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, they saw those blue-collar issues. And he has not wavered from those issues. I want the
conservative movement to always be about the forgotten men and women. You know, you called the populace, what I saw at the populist revolt. By the way, this is Laura's new book right here. She didn't autograph it or nothing. I had to go buy it. She didn't even give me a free copy
for you. Yeah.
But let's be the party, or let's be the people that stand up for the men and women that make this country great every day, that do all of the producing, obey the laws, pay the taxes. Good people. They deserve a nice house, safe neighborhood, nice car, vacation, take their kids to Disney, and be able to go out to eat and save for retirement. That's the dream.
I think in part of the dream, Sean, isn't chaos. They don't want chaos in the streets. They don't want people at each other's throats or accosted in a restaurant. People don't like that. They're very compassionate and welcoming. But the idea of people rushing the border.
Women in restaurants. What is this? What is this new obsession? This woman got punched in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I mean, but they're pro-women. We're supposed to believe, Sean, that they have a monopoly on compassion, tolerance, real diversity, pro-women. But when you when you really dissect those issues, on most of those issues, their claims fall short. So I'm blessed to not only be here at Fox, but you and I have been friends for about 20 years now, a long time.
Why do you have to say that? Well, I don't want people to believe that we like each other. I want people to think that we hate each other.
No,
by the way,
like
this book is great, but you know something? I love that the American people are getting the prosperity they deserve. Promises finally kept. I hope we continue it in 19 days. You were there from the beginning, and it was proud. There weren't a lot of us. There were not.
No. And it was great to be in the trenches with you, Hannity, anytime.
All right. Laura Ingraham takes over. Let not your heart be troubled. The Ingraham angle starts right now, 2 minutes late.
Can you do a voiceover? I actually want you to voice that over for me, and we'll play that every night instead of the graphics. I just want you to do a real mellifluous Hannity
just be
voice.
A voice. Don't show that hideous face that's been on TV for 23 years. We just want your voice.
Hannity, great show tonight. Thanks so much. I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle from Washington. And ahead tonight, looking to exploit divisions in this country, yet another example tonight of how the left is using race to try desperately to drive voters to the polls in less now than 3 weeks. Herman Cain is here to react. You do not want to miss it. He's in studio. It's going to be fantastic. Plus, why is this man still being given a platform? Well, Dan Bongino will react to the latest anti-Semitic slur from the Nation of Islam founder, Louis Farrakhan, and why Twitter is allowing him to still use its platform. Plus, Raymond Arroyo for Seen and Unseen. He breaks down the tape from Trump's 60 Minutes interview and will tell us specifically why the GOP should be paying close attention. But first, meet the chairman. That's the focus of tonight's angle. I had a horrible dream last night. Now, one of those, wake up in a cold sweat types. The calendar read Wednesday, November 7th. And the Democrats had gained control of the House of Representatives. And the first horrible vision I had, it was kind of blurry, but it was Maxine Waters, and she was talking about Justice Kavanaugh.
It was heartbreaking, but I think women are not going to recede. Women are going to continue to confront what took place in that confirmation and him, and he won't rest easy in his job.
What does Auntie Maxine mean by that? He won't rest easy. It kind of sounds like an implicit threat to me. Or does she just mean impeachment? Or that the justice is going to be confronted at his home and public life, public places? Is it some kind of dog whistle to go after Kavanaugh? Similar to her earlier call to harass conservatives earlier this year? Well, soon she may be harassing all of America. If the Democrats wrest control of the House of Representatives, guess what? Auntie M could be the first woman to lead the House Financial Services Committee. Now, never mind that she once faced 3 ethics violations charges for setting up a meeting between Treasury officials and a bank her hubby sat on the board of and had large investments in. But Maxine thinks she's Teflon, so she just keeps on making threats.
I'm going to keep saying that we need to impeach him. Join with me. Let's impeach 45. If he thinks he can stop me from talking about impeach 45, he's got another thought coming. Impeach 45. Impeach 45.
That's my ringtone, by the way. It's so, I always want to avoid it. And this is another man who shares Maxine's impeachment fantasy. If the Democrats sweep to power, Jerry Nadler would become chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He's already sharpening his knife, or fork and knife, for Kavanaugh.
We would have to investigate any credible allegations, certainly of perjury and other things that haven't been properly looked into before. If he is on the Supreme Court and the Senate hasn't investigated, then the House will have to.
Now, with all that's facing America, all our potential, do we really want a prolonged inquisition of a sitting Supreme Court justice? The last and only time the House impeached a Supreme Court justice was in 1804. So you ready for Kavanaugh Circus Part 3? Well, unless Senator Spartacus becomes a lion tamer, I'm going to pass on that three-ringer. Then there's Massachusetts Congressman Richie Neal. He's poised to become the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. And if that happens, forget the idea of making those Trump middle-class tax cuts permanent. Neal was a fierce opponent of the Trump tax package and is expected to try to roll back some of those tax cuts. There goes our economic boom. And then there's Maryland's Elijah Cummings. He's in line to become chairman of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. His mission? To investigate the Trump administration's 7 ways to Sunday.
I want to look at what President Trump has done, aided and abetted by the Republicans in Congress, to tear down the foundations of our democracy.
Oh, that's all. Well, Cummings is already on record as saying he'd like to probe Trump's cancellation of security clearances, the 2020 census, the rights of federal employees, and the president's treatment of the press. Now, these frivolous partisan investigations would cost millions and, of course, achieve Zippo. But they would certainly serve the Democrats' goal of paralyzing the president and his administration in a blizzard of probes and inquiries. And, my friends, it won't end there. If Peter DeFazio becomes the Transportation Committee chairman, he's planning to do oversight of the Trump International Hotel and the Government Services Administration, which is the agency that gave Trump a lease for the old post office building in D.C. where the hotel is. And if money is power, Congresswoman Nita Lowey of New York is about to become the queen of the House. She could head the powerful Appropriations Committee in charge of spending your money. Lowey has never met a liberal social program she didn't like, and the 81-year-old Democrat would have the power to shift our spending priorities from things like defense and border security to welfare and arts programs. That'll keep the economy humming. And the wall, it'll never be funded. The left is salivating over all of these possibilities in a liberal House takeover.
Adam Schiff could restart the Russia investigation. Elijah Cummings at Oversight will have subpoena power. You know, Maxine Waters will be the head of the Committee on Financial Regulation. The House Ways and Means Committee will be able to obtain Trump's tax returns. It's going to be a completely different environment in terms of the ability to hold them accountable for all these outrages.
For the MSNBC crowd, it's like Christmas morning. But for America, it would be the nightmare we cannot allow to become a reality. If this band of liberal misfits and radicals takes the reins of power in the House come November, it'll be scarier than Halloween, only the trick will be on the American people. And the treats, they'll be given away to someone else. And that's the angle. Joining me now to discuss is Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy, author and syndicated columnist Michelle Malkin, and Dr. Dina Grayson, who ran for Congress as a Democrat in 2016. All right, Congressman Duffy, which of your Democratic colleagues are you most concerned about if they end up getting the House?
I got to tell you, Laura, that was a frightening rundown of a nightmare for conservatives. So for me, the one that I'm the most afraid of is Maxine Waters on financial services. That's my committee. And listen, it's not a C committee. This is an A committee in the House. We have banking, housing, insurance, the Federal Reserve. So we affect your bank rates, your insurance rates, everything we do, your 401k, your retirement. This committee touches, and Maxine Waters, the leader of the impeach Trump movement, will chair this committee. And I think what you'll see is rates will rise for banks on the insurance side. And across this space. So that's number one. But number two, I would look at Adam Schiff. I think it's so important that we find out what was going on inside the FBI and the DOJ. Devin Nunes has been a dog on a bone trying to figure out who the bad actors were. Devin will lose that seat. Adam Schiff will scrap that investigation, and we'll never know the partisanship in politics in the lead up to 2016 and how that transitioned into the Mueller investigation that's still going after Trump today.
All right, Michelle Malkin. You heard my nightmare scenario. What is your most nightmarish vision of how this could go down and what people, voters across the country, must be focusing on 20 days before this election?
Well, I think that you should take that Meet the Chairman graphic and replace the caption with Legion of Democratic Doom. These are the worst of the far left's super villains, and it does leave a chill up my spine, and I think it should drive every independent and Republican voter, every fair-minded voter out there to the polls on November 6th. And as Congressman Duffy pointed out, the idea of Maxine Waters, one of the worst and most unethical corruptocrats, a Beltway barnacle who has squeezed so much out of her position of power for her own professional and personal benefit. The idea of her in charge of financial services when she is someone who even came under criticism by liberal Barney Frank for her cronyism of color with the One United Bank and stimulus funny business. You talk about a culture of corruption, which of course is the name of a book I wrote in 2009, and I think it really behooves Republicans to turn that phrase and do political jujitsu so people know exactly how the swamp is going to affect them if we let this blue wave rise. The thing is, it is not an inevitability that this blue wave is going to hit. And what people need to know, Laura, is that if they do not drain the swamp and use their voices and votes, we are all going to drown in it.
All right, Dean, I'm sure you have a lot to say about what we just heard from our other guests, but Adam Schiff in the Washington Post a few days ago said the following: there are serious and credible allegations the Russians may possess financial leverage over the president, including perhaps the laundering of Russian money through his businesses. It would be negligent to our national security not to find out. Do you really think, Dina, that's what Americans are clamoring for in 2018, 2019?
Well, Laura, look, you said it earlier, about the radicals and miscreants in government right now. And what Americans want is an honest government. They want to know that the leader of our country is not beholden to a hostile foreign nation such as Russia. And there's overwhelming evidence that Trump has been laundering money for the Russians for decades.
Really?
For decades.
Overwhelming
and Felix Sater.
Overwhelming evidence? Okay,
Felix
tick off 3 examples of the overwhelming evidence.
Well, let's just start with Felix Sater. Felix Sater has been laundering Russian money for the Russian mob for decades, was Trump's business partner, had an office in Trump Tower. You've got Trump's personal lawyer.
So is that the standard that you set? I just want to understand this, because I'm a lawyer and I did a lot of white-collar criminal. So someone who has an office in your building, you are then responsible for every transaction and everything he's done? Because I got to say, Dina, you're a smart person. I know you ran for Congress. You probably wish you were running this time around, not 2016. But that's the kind of like just smear job that I think people are just fed up with. They tried to do it to Kavanaugh with a smear job with literally no corroborating evidence. And now you say something on national television. I mean, God bless you. That is just like ridiculous. There is no factual foundation on that.
That is not true, Laura. There is factual foundation. And in
okay,
fact,
what business interest does Donald Trump have in Russia over the last 3 years? What business interest does he have? Or 5 years?
What interest does Russia have in Trump? Okay, what they have been doing is buying. Look at Trump Soho. Trump Soho, 70% of the units were bought in cash transactions with anonymous LLCs. That is a hallmark of money laundering. That is a flashing red light.
Okay, then you got to go to Toronto.
Has
spend some time in Toronto, Dina, because every building in Toronto, all these buildings are going up, and Sean, I'm sure you've seen them if you've been up there. People are just dumping money in real estate because it's a safe haven. To build in New York or buy real estate in Paris or Moscow. People are doing it all over the world, and especially the Chinese. Duffy, I want to go to you because I think what we're seeing here is the Democrats taste it. They taste in what they believe is an inevitable rush in the House of Representatives of power and authority to kind of get back for the last 2 years and the embarrassment of 2016. And they do have a lot of drive right now. They have some wind at their backs. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm. And the mistake they're making is they're actually showing their colors. These leaders that you put on the board, these aren't moderates. These are not blue dog Democrats. These are the radicals. We're going to have the leaders of the Kavanaugh mob outside the Capitol. We're going to give them gavels in the House of Representatives. And in places like mine in Wisconsin, what's going to happen is the swing voters in rural Wisconsin that can go Republican or Democrat, they look at who these people are and what their agenda is and how anti-Trump it is and how pro-Trump or how pro-America Donald Trump has been. They're gonna say, I don't want that. I'm gonna still go Republican. And you're gonna see Democrats be shocked because their agenda doesn't resonate with the American people in places like Wisconsin.
All right, Michelle, final word.
Yeah, it really is the jobs versus mobs midterm. And, you know, if Dr. Grayson were honest, she would acknowledge that there has been a referendum on the very agenda that she's laid out. And her own husband, who is really, I think, the godfather of Democratic mobism, somebody who accused Republicans of being likened to al-Qaeda, somebody who hounded peaceful Republicans who were meeting in a Perkins restaurant, one of the most unhinged members of Congress that came under criticism by other Democratic leaders for how out of control he was rejected just a couple of months ago. And so if you think that Russia, impeach is going to get the Democratic Party anywhere, why don't you look at you and your husband's own political fate? I hope that is the fate, too, on November 6th.
All right, Dina's got to respond to that, Dina.
Well, look, the reality is the biggest issue that Americans do care about, you're right, is not Russia. It's health care. And let's face it, the Republicans stink about health care. And everyone's touched by health care. The Republicans want to cut the pre-existing condition. They want to take away health care from Americans. And that's not what Americans want.
That's the goal.
So I look forward to Democrats being in charge of the House.
That's how Donald Trump won, Dina. I mean, Donald Trump won by saying, I want to take away everybody's health care. If our health care system hadn't been screwed up by Obamacare, we wouldn't have to be dealing with this carnage right now. That's the sad thing. I mean, we have to pick up the pieces of a failed rollout of Obamacare. But the idea that the country is thinking Donald Trump wants to take away health, it's just ridiculous. I mean,
but Laura,
I
more
say Democrats
have
got to come to the table with more. You've got to come to the table with solutions. How are you guys going to grow the economy by 4.2%? You're not. I appreciate it. Panel, thank you so much. I want to turn now to the focus on the next man who could become the chairman of the House Intel Committee. That's California's Adam Schiff. Sean Duffy just referenced him. Now, if he becomes chairman, he's vowed to continue to search for the Russian collusion that so far nobody's been able to prove. I'm joined by former U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney, and Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy. Andy, now, if Schiff takes control of House Intel, what might we expect specifically?
I think we expect exactly what we heard from your last panelist until Michelle called her out on it, I think. What you're going to get is, let's look at the Trump Tower meeting. Let's look at the financing behind Trump's business empire. Let's, in particular, look at the financing of his real estate aspect of his business. And, of course, they'll say they need the tax returns for that. And, we'll be off to the races. That's what it'll be for however long it lasts. Although I think it'll be of great benefit politically to the president, but I don't think the country will like it very much.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'll always overreach. They're going to try to tangle everything up in these tangential issues that will not help a single American have a job, hold a job, and raise wages. None of that's going to be accomplished. But it's Pavlovian at this point with the Democrats. It's like they're at the gates and they just want to, rush the gates and get this stuff done. Andy, I have to ask you about a report that came out just a few hours ago, John Solomon's piece in The Hill, about FBI officials and DOJ officials who had been getting freebie trips to various foreign destinations. And one of the chief beneficiaries of these foreign trips, freebie trips, was Andrew Weissman, of course, who's one of the most senior people in the Mueller investigation. What's going on there?
Yeah, this has become a really big problem, Laura. I wrote about it a few months back when it came up in a financial fraud investigation in New York. This whole idea of the FBI and the Justice Department having this kind of incestuous relationship with the media, where they're trading information and they're getting favors out of it. They're getting tickets to sports events. They're getting, all kinds of benefits out of it. I don't know what they're doing at the Justice Department, but that ought to be item one that they're looking at.
Now, in The Hill, another great piece by John Solomon. Andy, thank you so much. And for more on why Trump won and how the GOP could do it again, grab a copy of my new paperback. It's Busting the Barricades, What I Saw at the Populist Revolt in bookstores everywhere. And up next, the left's literal race to the bottom. See how one rap star is teaming up with the ACLU ahead of the midterms to smear our criminal justice system as, is it born just out of white nationalism? That's the message. You won't believe it. Stay there. The Democrats' slogan going into the midterms is for the people. But what does that really mean? Only for the people we care about? In a race to the very bottom, the left is making it clear the only thing that matters is what you look like, not what you stand for. That was the case when they tried to take down Kanye West in their attacks against white women. Now rapper Common is teaming up with the ACLU, claiming cops and the entire criminal justice system is based on white supremacy. Take a look.
How do we change an unjust system? A criminal justice system that for centuries has denied justice to our most vulnerable. A system born of white supremacy, racism, and discrimination, destroying families and devastating communities along the way. We vote.
Yeah, heck with that personal responsibility thing, Common. Joining me here in the studio, Herman Cain, a radio talk show host and former Republican presidential candidate. Richard Goodstein also is a former aide to both Bill and Hillary Clinton. Richard, let me start with you. Now, this has long been a tactic of the left, which is to go to race in the days before an election. At the same time, Democrats claim that Republicans are the ones who have the race problem. The ACLU used to represent all people. Why is the ACLU teaming up with Common to claim that black cops are part of the racist system, Hispanic cops all throughout Texas, Arizona are part of the racist system? How does that unite America behind the Democrat Party?
Well, I think what we're seeing in this accusation about what the Democrats are trying to do around race is part of a theme, whether it's immigration, impeach Trump, Kavanaugh. There's this kind of scare tactic. Even looking at these committee chairs.
That's a scare tactic.
Well, I'm saying the committee chairs, Maxine Waters, and all these black faces, and that's supposed to scare people who watch this show.
Whoa. Adam Schiff, Nina Lowey, Neil from Massachusetts.
I agree.
Don't see, you are doing, and I love you. You know I love having you on. But you are doing exactly what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with race. I don't care what color you're
Here's what it has to do with race. Anytime that people...
ridiculous,
if a black person criticizes Donald Trump, they're a dog, they're stupid, they're an idiot. Whether it's LeBron, whether it's NFL players, and whether it's Mitt Romney and John McCain, they don't get called... Omarosa gets called a dog, right? The people... Think about the chain of the people who criticize Donald Trump who were black and what he calls them, and the people who were white who criticize them and what he calls them. He didn't call John McCain stupid or ignorant or Mitt Romney or other people who weren't with him. All I'm saying is...
He just called Stormy Daniels horseface. I don't think she's black, is she? I mean, if that's your best response to what I just said, I have to say, you're proving my point. This is about solutions. Trump has actually delivered, Herman, solutions on the economy. He's working on streamlining health care so people have choices in health care. Prescription drug price transparency. That's the first step to having lower prescription drug prices. Obama had 8 years. Where was all the criminal justice reform? Where was all this action to unify the country racially? We had Baltimore in flames. We had Ferguson in flames. We had the situation with Michael Brown in Florida. This all happened during Obama. The people were mad as hell, and they weren't going to take it anymore. That was during the great 8 years of utopia. So they're blaming Trump for this stuff?
They didn't do anything about the illegal immigration laws. They didn't do anything about the Dreamers laws. And so at this point, Richard is doing exactly what the other Democrats do. They want to focus on the narratives rather than the results. The American people, the people who are seeing America through the wide lens of America, are focusing on results, not this narrative. And even in that opening clip that you showed about the coming of the chairmen or chairpersons, well, guess what? They want to accuse, they want to allege, and they want to investigate. They're not talking about anything that's going to help the economy, help people with their wages. They're not going to talk about the median income because for the 8 years of the Obama administration, the median income barely moved. The GDP was at 2%, and they wanted us to accept it as a new normal. It's their approach because they are desperate Democrats, socialists, and some of them are flat-out lunatics, in my opinion.
Okay, Jeff Toobin, in a reference to Trump's base, said the following. Let's watch.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe the base is much of the United States. Maybe this country is a lot more racist and sexist than we thought.
All right, well, we elected Barack Obama and re-elected Barack Obama, supported overwhelmingly by people of all different colors and backgrounds. He was an incredible campaigner, and the country was excited about it. So this is what one of the preeminent legal analysts at another network, that's what he has to offer. Well, I guess it can't be that we have the wrong ideas. The country's just a rotten, awful, racist, sexist country. I don't get it.
I think what Toobin's saying is not all people that supported Trump are racists, but all racists supported Trump, right? There can be, okay, what's
Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, Herman. Recite me, what group of racists were right behind Hillary Clinton?
I apologize for interrupting.
Please.
I am sick and tired of people making these blanket
Tell me who it
statements
was.
that are not true. I don't need to give you a name.
Well, you just interrupted me to say I was wrong. Tell me
you
the
are
evidence.
wrong because you offer no facts. Here again, it's the narrative. That's all he has to offer.
Well, I will say that the people today who are playing this, it's white privilege. It's white. We have a whiteness problem in the country. There's this meme going around on social media. It's all the white. The country's too white. The country's what it is at any given time.
In case
it's black. It's white.
In
it's
case
Hispanic,
you haven't noticed,
like
Richard,
who?
I am not white. I know a lot of people that are black who are supporting this president.
36%, according to the recent poll.
I'm sick and tired of you all using the narrative to basically try and attack the conservatives.
Well, you know what I think is racist?
No facts.
I want to be fair to Richard too, because I also think it's racist when Harvard decides it's going to penalize Asian Americans in its admission. The great vaunted Harvard University. My kids will probably never get in there now. Boo-hoo! I'm so upset. Go Dartmouth. So they're now saying a whole class of people, you're going to be judged by different standards because we have to make this quote diverse.
Right.
That's racist.
Can I respond? I don't disagree that Harvard's got admissions problems, but I think your viewers, to the extent that they believe that racists were not, as a general matter, supporting Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton, for people to disagree with that as a fundamental proposition, to say that's factually inaccurate.
Moore's communists supported Hillary. Okay, does that mean Hillary or the Democrat parties are you know what I'm saying?
No.
That's a game you can play on every level. Most pedophiles supported a socialist candidate. I just think that's not a governing agenda. I get it. There are horrible, awful, rotten racists in America. There always will be. They are marginalized people in our society. They have zero influence, and they're despised by pretty much everyone except their core group of people in their basement sending out hateful tweets and posts. That is not America. America is a wonderful and good place.
Totally agree.
And Democrats used to be that. You can do anything in America that you want. I believe the Democrats today have more to offer than this.
And you just have to ask yourself why in every special election we've had since the 2016 general election, Republicans have been losing ground by 15, 20 points. Connor Lamb, Doug Jones, why all these people are winning places that Trump won by a landslide. It's because the people don't actually accept the proposition that you and Herman are putting out. And maybe there's some analysis as to why, given the economic data, but they're not. They're not buying it.
We'll see what happens in less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we'll see if the great turnout that everyone's predicting all redounds to the Democrats' favor. Maybe it will. They've done a good job, Herman. Republicans better to get the turnout because they got big buku money on the Democrat side, and they're chomping at the bit. And Republicans got to fight a good game. Democrats are excited.
And what conservatives got to do is to push the results.
Yeah, results over resistance.
Over resistance.
Guys, thank you so much. And what do Brooklyn witches, a media-savvy president, and the Connors all have in common? Raymond Arroyo will tell us next.
Moving. That's harder now because of psoriatic arthritis.
And listen.
You don't know what I talked about with Putin in the meeting prior to the press conference?
Publicly. You never say anything harsh about him publicly.
I didn't. I'm the one that gave Ukraine offensive weapons and tank killers. Obama didn't. You know what he sent? He sent pillows and blankets. I'm the one, and he's the one that gave away a part of Ukraine, where Russia now has this
submarine. I mean him personally. Vladimir Putin.
I think I'm very tough with him personally.
That is the correction. You never let people put words in your mouth. You lay out your narrative and keep going. This is another object lesson in what I call not taking the bait. Stahl asked if Trump has any regrets. Here's his answer.
I thought very strongly that, you know, the one great thing will happen is the press will start treating me great. Leslie, they treat me worse. They got worse instead of better. Very dishonest.
Okay, is this what you regret?
I regret that the press treats me so badly.
I'm really asking if
and despite that, my poll numbers are very good.
Redirect.
I regret that you treat me badly.
Right. So
no, that's classic Trump.
He doesn't answer a question he doesn't want to.
No.
He asks his own question and sticks to it.
Don't swing at every pitch.
This is masterful. Now, you might call this one, Laura, the smackdown. Stahl tries to get the president off the press, and he won't get off it. Listen.
Dishonest.
I'm going to change the subject again. You did it 4 times.
I'm just telling you that you treated me much differently on the subject.
I disagree, but I don't want to have that fight with you.
Hey,
all
it's
right,
okay.
Another fight with you.
Leslie, it's okay. In the meantime, I'm president, and you're not.
That was a drop mic moment, Laura. You do need those big dramatic moments. And you know what Trump understands?
Drop phone moment.
He understands this is his moment in the midterms. Beyond Fox News, beyond cable, he was reaching a massive audience here and making his final pitch for the midterms. It was a tour de force.
No, but he's been doing this. People say he's not accessible because he's not on like a show that has 4 viewers. I mean, come on. He's accessible to all these people. And last night, ABC relaunched the Roseanne show without Roseanne. It's called The Connors. And they killed off the beloved matriarch. And there is, well, backlash.
There is a backlash. 10.5 million people tuned in. That is 55% beneath the premiere a year ago. So they lost a lot of their audience. It's also beneath the average for the year last year. Now, Roseanne died of an opioid overdose. And as the episode went on, we found out where she got those opioids.
Nobody can afford their meds. We all help each other. Rosie needed painkillers. I had some, so I gave them to her. She said that she needed those pain pills to get back to work because you guys were running out of money.
Don't you try to put this off on me. You gave her the pills. She took them. She died. You killed her.
This is like a bad, A Eugene O'Neill play. This is horrible.
To take down, though, a beloved, funny character like this that the whole country was looking to. She was a stand-in for Middle America. By killing her in this way, it was disrespectful, which the showrunner said he didn't want to be. But I'm sorry, most viewers.
Let me tell you, Raymond, it's the way liberal elites usually treat the blue-class people, blue-collar people, which is why
the audience is going to erode. Watch. Before we go, Laura, I have to tell you this. A bookstore in Brooklyn is hosting a Brett Kavanaugh hexathon.
What?
Now, I wish I were making this up. They're charging $10 a ticket to get together to put a curse on Brett Kavanaugh. We have some exclusive footage of a rehearsal, a run-through. Look at this. I just want to show you this. I'll talk you through it. It's called Embracing Witchcraft's True Roots as the Magic of the Poor. Go to that footage, guys. This is unbelievable footage we've acquired. But they're saying the downtrodden and disenfranchised have always used magic. Go to that footage before we run out of time. There they are. You see that? That's the wrong footage, guys. Go to the real. Go to the real footage of the real hexathon.
Oh wait, that's.
Oh, here we go. Here they are. They're showing their colors. Laura, we actually, this is all kidding, but we do have actual footage of this same group, same bookstore in Brooklyn, tried this routine. Wow, that's scary. This is Angelica Houston, believe it or not. This is the actual footage from last year. They hexed the president. I think Brett Kavanaugh needs a few novenas to protect him from the witch's wrath. You'll be happy to know in their tradition of terrorizing.
I'm going to hold the crucifix up. I don't even like looking at that. I get the heebie-jeebies.
In their tradition of terrorizing children, 25% of the monies will go to Planned Parenthood. So they're being consistent, Laura. Consistent witches.
Satan lives.
Okay.
Hooray.